Alright, here's a quick preview. What's up YouTube? D-Star back again with another tutorial. It has been a minute, guys. Check out my new studio. Still a work in progress, but yeah, a little bit nicer than the kitchen. Anyways, we're gonna do TIESTO's Boom today. I'm gonna do the synth, mainly the bass synth, which is pretty much the key point, but also show you kind of the construction of the drop. I've got everything pretty much recreated except for the actual vocal. I like the record, it's pretty dope, and the bass synth kind of made me sit down and say, hey, I really want to figure this out. It's a different sound. I checked out some of the other tutorials when I first thing I try to do always is like, hey, how do they make this? Maybe there's a tutorial on it. And I couldn't find anything that really nailed it, so I think I got it. It's like 99% there. It's probably pretty much as close as you can get there without actually having the actual patch. So let's check it out, and yeah, let's do it. Alright, let's get started. So this was a huge pain in the ass. Let me start by saying that. So I followed the notes. In the original, it seems like the bass is playing quite often, but in reality it's not. It's only playing a few certain off notes. And there's a sub bass that gives it kind of a groove. So with the kick and the sub, let's play those two together. Pretty interesting, right? And then there's a tom. Everything's tuned to the key of D, which makes it all feel like one note. So when you hear the drop in its entirety, you feel like you're hearing a lot of bass notes, because you are, but not all of them are that like really gnarly sound that we're kind of after. And then after that, I just threw kind of a clap. If you compare A and B, I'm going to delete these. I'm going to put the project out there, and I'm going to put everything, the patch, everything for free download so you guys can check it out. I'm going to take out the original Boom, track, because, I don't want TIESTO knocking on my door with this endless legal team. But yeah, in all seriousness, yeah, let's get right into it. I just wanted to explain that real quick. I'm going to walk through each piece. So we've got the kick, which is obvious, and we've got the bass. So I started messing around with different wavetables in Serum, and I ended up starting at Modern Talking, actually, an old classic, which I'm sure some of you guys remember. So we're going to start with that, and I'm just going to throw it in here. And the notes are all Ds across the board. It's just everything's in the key of D. So your kick drum and everything should be tuned to D. So let's start. Let's get a little envelope going. It's a very sharp, stabby bass, so you probably want an envelope kind of like that. Probably should put this down an octave or two. There we go. Oops, I keep forgetting with this new Ableton 10 you have to arm the MIDI before you... Okay, cool. So now we're here, turn it on mono, and yeah, pretty straightforward. I'm going to go right to the effects chain, and I'm going to put in a filter to start that, because that's kind of the first piece of the puzzle, is that sharp filter that you're going to see. And we'll do something like this. And right away you kind of hear a similarity. You're not far off. So that's how I started, and then add some drive. And you're like, damn, it's already like 75% there, but I A and B this thing like crazy because I really wanted to get it. There's like a certain slap to it that, I couldn't get. So I started messing around with the bend, which is in here. And I was pretty satisfied with that, actually, until I listened to the original, and then I was like, nah, I'm not even close. So I ended up going in the extended version of the track, going to the outro where the bass is kind of exposed, and resampling it. So let me show you how I did that to kind of make my own wavetable. I clicked this, typed in D0, because the notes are all in D as we mentioned. It's probably actually in D1, so, but I don't know, D0 seemed to work best. Drag it in, and then you can see it's pretty much on time. You'll hear a part in the extended mix where the bass is exposed, but the kick drum's down to like a little tiny nub or whatever you want to call it, And there's a couple notes that are pretty open. There's a little bit of noise and reverb in there, but since we're sampling it like this, it tends to not show up as much. You know, because I don't know, for whatever reason, however it works, you know, you'll eliminate some of that. So I did that. You can actually normalize them all if you want. Process, normalize each, gain separately, and they'll be a little fatter there, as you can see. And this will get it a lot closer. But it seems to lose some sort of edge. Let me shut off the bend. Pretty close, right? So let's start getting some effects going. I'll distort it a touch. Note the distortion takes the level down. It doesn't sound worse, it's just quieter. And I'll do the multiband OTT compression. And now we're on to something. I did some processing. I'm just going to copy my chain to speed this up. And I'll explain everything as we go through it. No need for 2 EQs. I was kind of not paying attention to this, so I cut off the EQ. This right here gives that grunt. I always remember from like the French house stuff that if you run like a really, in electro house days, this was really popular. If you run a pointy EQ and then run into a distortion box, you'll get, like, run a peak EQ into a distortion box, you'll tend to get some pretty interesting results. So I ran the distortion, you know. Damn, that sounds crisp. You know, I pushed up the EQ, and I found that right there it gives you part of that growl that I was kind of missing before. Then after that, I just use the saturator, the medium curve. If you're not familiar with the saturator, it's one of my favorite things in Ableton. These 4 are the ones I tend to use the most. And analog is the lightest, soft, medium, hard. As you can imagine, it progresses into harder and harder distortion / saturation. After that, I have a limiter. Just kind of make it a little bit louder. Don't do that quite often, but I really wanted it to have the right edge and trim a little bit of the transient. And last but not least, yeah, the LFO tool and a touch of reverb. It's at a very small decay time, and I just use the Ableton reverb. Kind of adds some body to it. It's very subtle. You can adjust it as you see fit. You can hear it there if I turn it up more. So there we have it. That's the bass, pretty much. There was one last thing I did. I turned on oscillator B because I wanted it to be a little bit more aggressive. Went to basic shapes, turned it up to a triangle, turned this down all the way, and then turned FM from B on. And that helped me dial in a little bit more of the tone. So let's go compare it now to my original patch. It's probably quite different. Let me turn the speakers down a little. Pretty much exactly the same. I forgot also, in this patch, I raised the attack a little bit because the OTT tends to give it that click. Here's the original patch that I had made. It's pretty much exactly the same. I routed the level of envelope 1. I routed the level to the boom, you know, to the level of the oscillator. Wow, I'm a little slow today. And yeah, there it is. That's the patch. Added the hyper dimension, and that's it. Pretty much there it is. So yeah, let's hear it all together one more time. So yeah, some cool rhythms happening there, and yeah, the bass sound is sweet. To make the sub bass, I'm going to walk you guys through that really quick as well. Super simple. I do this all the time in my original productions. Just head down to the digital, start a new patch, initialize, head down to the digital, grab sub bass. The more you turn it to the left, you're going to see more harmonics, and the more you turn it to the right, you're going to see less. Then I turn the filter on about halfway here, 300 hertz, and run some drive through it. A little bit more saturation on the outboard, and then just sidechain it. You'll end up with a pretty crisp sub bass. And I sidechain it a lot, and then combined with the tom, it all kind of makes one big piece. So hey, if you guys have any questions, let me know. Comments, stuff you guys need help with. Check out my studio. I'm super proud of it. It's a work in progress, but I just installed these lights a couple weeks ago, and yeah, pretty sweet. So hit me up, guys. And last but not least, please like and subscribe if you guys got some help or got something out of this tutorial. Hit like and subscribe. Thank you guys so much.